All right, enough Chelsea. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, guys.
Real Madrid finished the campaign with a 2-0 win over Real Sociedad as Kylian Mbappe backs 2 goals to win the European Golden Boot. But Jules, this was all about the farewells to Luka Modric and Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah, it was. I mean, let's not forget Lucas Vazquez was also leaving, but you're right. The two main ones were them, Carlo Ancelotti and Luka Modric. A lot of emotions all around, a lot of tears too. I think everybody within that stadium or within that fan base or the club would acknowledge and recognize how important those two guys have been in the last 12 years for Luka Modric, and Carlo in and out really, but since 2012 or 13. So very, very important part of the greatest club in the world.
Anniversary of Ancelotti winning La Decima for Real Madrid, the exact same day. And Modric wheeled out one of quote we all know. It's a very sweet quote. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Although I went deep down a rabbit hole. He attributed it to Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Yes.
Not him, apparently.
Ooh.
A lot of people attribute it to Dr. Seuss.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
also not him. There's quote investigators on the internet. I found it. Apparently it's some German poet I'd never heard of in the 1890s.
Okay. A late Manuel Locatelli penalty. Who saw that one coming? Gives Juventus a 3-2 win Stop it. At Venezia to seal their place in the Champions League for next season. But this was a struggle.
It was a struggle like Juve's all season. They go a goal down straight away. Then they're 2-1 up. And then for some reason they keep attacking. And then they concede and it's 2-2. And then Di Gregorio has to make this tremendous save. And then the Locatelli penalty, like I know what you're doing there. It's
I'm just saying, it's a penalty, but
the guy who fouls him is Nicolosi Caviglia, who was part of Juve's next gen team a few years. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that it was
All right, for shame. Tudor says, some people think he might stay. Tudor says, whoever the next coach of Juve is, if it's me or somebody else, should be in place for the Club World Cup, which some people take to mean that either he's sticking around or he's definitely gone. And there isn't much time before the Club World Cup.
Yeah, that's true.
Paris Saint-Germain destroy Reims by halftime to win the French Cup. Jules, the quadruple is on.
Yeah,
Even without Kvara.
I'll take a treble, to be fair. Kvara with a bad headache, so he went home, and Doué started instead of him. And Barcola and Doué just destroyed Reims pretty much on their own.
Double B and double D.
Absolutely. They could have scored 6, 7, 8 goals, to be fair. They was that good. But obviously, all the priority, all the focus now is on Saturday and Inter Milan.
And also, Reims were much more focused on staying up.
Yeah.
That's why they chose to be 3-0 down at halftime.
Let's rewind to Friday night, Gav, as well. Napoli beat Cagliari 2-0 to win their second Scudetto in 3 years. And Scott McTominay is the MVP. But could Antonio Conte really believing?
Let me deal with McTominay first.
Incredible.
I was wrong. Many of us were wrong. I didn't think he could be this good straight away. I thought he could have an impact. He's a big body in the middle of the pitch. He'll break up play. No. He turns into a devastating second striker type. Really embraces the city. The city embraces him. 12 goals this season. Now, is it all down to Serie A being rubbish and the Premier League being so good? Or is it down to a bunch of coaches he had at Manchester United failing to see what he could bring? And even Steve Clark with Scotland seeing what he could bring further up the pitch. I'll leave the debate out there. Conte, De Laurentiis coming out. He says if you're not happy here, you probably should move on. He came out and he said this. And the backstory about Conte is obviously first season. He did it kind of on a shoestring, and it's tremendous credit to him. But he says, hey, if I want to go on, I want assurances. I want I want investment so we can compete for the Champions League, defend our Serie A title. It is kind of weird. Napoli win 2 historic titles twice in 3 years, and both times their title-winning managers leave. Yeah. Sine Blackstenius comes off the bench to score the only goal as Arsenal upset Barcelona to win the Women's Champions League, Jules.
Yeah, incredible achievement 18 years on after their first time winning it in 2007, the only club in English women's football to have ever won it. And against all odds, because Barca were heavily favourite, and rightly so. They've won the last 2. But Arsenal played almost the perfect game, defended really well, quite deep, but defended really well, and then scored with a really good goal. Beth Mead with the assist, great assist, like really Bon Mati kind of assist, and then lovely finish by Blackstenius. Both of them coming off the bench, as you said. So René Slegers, who took over the job as a manager in November, from Jonas Eideveld, then working a magic all through the season, especially in that final.
And let's not forget here, Arsenal started the season really, really badly.
Yeah.
They didn't finish the season much better. I mean, in the end, they were third at the end of the season, right? So
second in the.
But they were third for much of the season. Were they second?
Yeah, I mean they were fighting for
But he inherited that bad start, right?
She.
Renee Slagers. Sorry, we often talk about men, so I naturally say he, but obviously she. Whereas Jonas Eideveld is a man, so I can say he for him. Let's just get rid of these genders, man. I just say the coach. But it was tremendous. And if you look at it, Barcelona, the bulk of the possession, they took 1 billion shots. But you look at the XG, you look at the quality of the Barcelona chances. Yeah. It was a lot of hit and hope. It was a lot of Claudio Pino from shooting from 40 yards out. It was a lot of that.
Barcelona end their season with a 3-0 away win against Athletic Club de Bilbao as Robert Lewandowski scores twice to take his total to 42 for this season, Gab. Some people said signing him back in 2022 was a mistake.
Yes, look, it's contrition day. What can I say here? Look, I think from a financial perspective...
it's costing them a lot of money.
It's cost you a lot of money. But in the end, he's getting you a lot of goals. He's up to 101 goals for Barcelona in 3 seasons. In those 3 seasons... they won 2 league titles.
Yeah.
They've injected a ton of enthusiasm into the club, into the fan base. Now, it's not all because of him. They came very, very close to getting to the Champions League final. They're going to have to replace him, obviously, maybe either this summer, if not this summer, next summer, definitely. But I don't think you can say that it hasn't worked out. So credit to him and credit to Barca.
Also, back on Friday, Inter beat Como 2-0 as Simone Inzaghi rest a bunch of starters. Gab, the title was out of their hands anyway.
It was, and, they put out a team to beat Como, and they did. I mean, they still had some starters out there. They had Çalhanoğlu out there. They had Federico Di Marco out there. They had Jan Sommer out there. They had good guys out there. Bisek. Things got a whole heck of a lot easier when... Pepe Reina got sent off
on his last ever game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm all for applying the rules, but was that really necessary? I don't know. But the important thing is people got to run out. Nobody got hurt. They had all the guys on the bench just in case. Lautaro, Thuram. I'm good with it. I think they'll be prepared when it comes to facing Paris Saint-Germain. Ooh, Bayer Leverkusen have a new manager.
Ooh,
it's another Dutch bald man.
Yeah, Erik ten Hag was announced today and officially, although we've known for a few days now. They picked him to replace Xabi Alonso with this good squad, talented squad, who will lose some players, of course, in the summer, like Jonathan Tah and Florian Wirtz, but still a good squad. So it'll be very interesting to see what Ten Hag can do in this league.
Can I say? It's not going to be interesting. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. He's losing Frimpong too.
Yeah, Frimpong as well, yeah, of course.
I'm not sure Schick's going to stick around. He could lose Boniface as well. And then it becomes a question of, look, let's turn to the recruitment specialist who is his son.
Yeah, I mean, Nigel,
maybe not.
Well.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe the Leverkusen, but I think it's going to be very difficult for Leverkusen to replicate what they had before, even though they will get a lot of money in if Wirtz goes, obviously.
Of course. Because that's the thing. Ten Hag is not going to work with Florian Wirtz at Bayer Leverkusen. He seems on his way to Liverpool, Gab.
Fabrizio Romano coming out very strongly on this one. He says Liverpool have put together an initial package of worth 100 million, which package worth 100 million could mean anything, but it probably involves bonuses and add-ons, probably a base fee. I think Leverkusen are going to turn that down because they're going to want more.
That's just the first offer.
That's an initial offer. What is interesting that he reported is that Wirtz has apparently told his people, according to Fabrizio, that he only wants Liverpool.
Yeah.
Which, if you're Bayern, that's not what you want to hear. It also kind of, the whole Manchester City have pulled out, have decided not to pursue. Puts that in context. Hey, Jules, I know we're going to talk about this endlessly when he comes in, but your initial reaction, obviously you can never have too many good players, but this means, I would guess, that it's not just Darwin who could be on his way, but Luis Diaz has been linked with a move as well. It means a lot of wheeling and dealing.
Because it's more for Szoboszlai, really. He's replacing Szoboszlai in that.
You really think it's that?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's where he's going to play. He's going to play in front of
I don't think
Gravenberch.
so. I don't.
What do you think he's going to play?
I don't know, but this has been one of the facts I was talking to somebody who knows Sloth well about, and it's not like he said, oh yeah, Sloth said he wants to do this, but he was talking about it within the context of the Frimpong signing as well, about how Sloth might be looking for a back three going forward, or a de facto back three, and it could be Gravenberch dropping in or whatever. But the idea is to really exploit Frimpong and potentially Kirkes if it comes to in the wing back role, and that would mean maybe more of a Christmas tree, maybe pushing Salah inside, and then maybe Wirtz with him or Gakpo with him. There's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, I was told he would play as a number 10 behind the striker, whoever that striker is, and I think that Szoboszlai that makes way, and Wirtz is better than Szoboszlai. It's just the money side, because Bayer Leverkusen won 150 million. Liverpool are not going to pay that. I think Leverkusen know that too. So where do you meet in between? Is it 100 million plus, let's say, 13 bonuses? But it's certain that Wirtz has agreed personal terms with Liverpool, so that is on his way. I would not believe, although the ball is very much in Simon Rolfes and Leverkusen's camp, in the sense that if they don't want to let him go, they don't let him go. He's got no choice but to stay. I still think that he wants to go. They will find an agreement somewhere between 100 and 150 million.
You don't think that now that he knows that Erik ten Hag is going to be the manager, he might be like, wait a minute, I want to play for the bald Dutch manager, for this bald Dutch manager, not that bald Dutch manager.
True, maybe. You never know.
And then he gets a message from Peter Bosch and says, hey, what about me? I'm Dutch and bald too.
The guy from Go Ahead Eagles is also by that. Won the cup. He's bald as well.
As is Yip Yap Stam, the large Dutch man.
Yeah. And Pep. Oh, no, he said no to Pep already.
And also Pep's not Dutch.
True, but he's still bald.
He's Dutch adjacent, though, because he's very Cruyff influenced. All right, let's leave that rabbit hole. Oh, one quick thing. Here's the question. Do you think it's going to break the Premier League transfer record when Wirtz signs?
Yeah.
Which I believe is 106 sterling, which is about 120. No, the reason I asked is
you're right.
It's about 120 euros, right?
Yeah, maybe not. Because of the bonuses, I think the way the deal is going to be structured, we'll have a lot of bonuses in it. Some easily reachable, some other more difficult, like for Wirtz to win the Ballon d'Or in the next 3 seasons, so you get an extra 10 million. So you're right. No, I would say no.
And this is just an excuse to bring up Jack Grealish, since we didn't mention him before.
Yeah, on his way out. Since I saw him on the train, since we took the train together, he hasn't been the same.
Things have gone downhill.
Yeah, exactly.
One last thing on the bonuses, fun fact. So when you look back, obviously Pedri joined Barcelona from Tenerife, I think, when he was very, very young, right? And you look at the base transfer fee that they paid.
Las Palmas, yeah.
Las Palmas, right, in the Canary Islands. It was very low. That deal had a ton of add-ons in there that if you add them all up, he's actually turned out to be really expensive.
Yeah.
Worth every penny.
Absolutely.
But it's kind of funny the way...
bonuses are good, yeah.
Bonuses, like we need to go back to them and check them, who's earned them out and who hasn't.
Yeah.
Stuttgart beat Arminia Bielefeld 4-2 in the DFB Pokal final to win their first trophy in 28 years. Not bad for a team that lost so much talent in the summer.
Not bad at all. Well done to Sebastian Hoeneß and this team that also was in the Champions League this season, that did well in the Bundesliga. Maybe not as high as they wanted for the finish, but have been a lot of fun to watch. You could expect them to lose more talent, unfortunately, in the summer, because I think Stelle is going to go. I think Millau is going to go.
But it's okay, because do you see Nick Woltemade, a.k.a.
We
Voldemort,
saw him
staying?
again, yeah.
He's going to stay, right?
up. Yeah, he's going to stay. Been called up by Germany again. I felt a little bit for Arminia Bielefeld and my friend Maël Corboz, their captain, who is half French, half American, who was a wonderful story. If you can look it up and look into it, because it's a wonderful story. They'd beaten 4 Bundesliga sides already on their way to the final. I think this one the step was just a little too high for them. But they went up to Bundesliga 5. Yep. So I hope they can keep improving like they did, but this was a little bit too high.
They became the first third-tier team to ever score a goal in the DFB Pokal final.
Yeah, as well.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, Stuttgart peppered them. I think they were 3-0 up at halftime, went 4-0 up.
Yeah, they were.
However, the first big chance of the game fell to Bielefeld, some guy I'd never heard of. The guy was like a double-barreled first name and a double-barreled last name. That should not be allowed unless you're Andre Frank Zambonguisa. He gets to do it because I like him. I don't like you, guy who missed a chance. But that could have taken a different turn there.
Yeah, and that's what they used to do before, be so efficient, but maybe not this time. And Gab, until that late Juventus penalty that we mentioned earlier, Roma were heading into the Champions League while were for the miracle man Claudio Ranieri to go out.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. They were out there hammering Torino, and they were a goal behind. It's a classic situation where they needed to better Juve's result. It didn't happen, but let's not forget this is a guy who took over Roma when they were on the edge of the relegation zone, and he lost his first 2 games. And he had all these players who people said like Celik and Hummels and Matthias Sule, who were all wrong and weren't going to fit. And he motivated everybody. And it's incredible that he came so close. And it was funny because they asked him about who the next Roma manager was going to be. Jurgen Klopp coming out and saying, no, it's not me. It's not me. Also, Klopp's so sweet when he talks. He doesn't just say Roma, but because he's German, he say, oh, no, I won't be the new coach of AS Roma. Like, just call it Roma, dude. But whatever, you're Klopp. You get to do what you want. But very, very cool. He said he may stay on as a consultant or whatever. I have a feeling we might see him coach again. I think it's going to be too hard for him to stay away.
I hope so.
The only living Sorloth in captivity scores a hat-trick as Atletico Madrid win 4-0 away to Girona. 20 goals in 15 starts, plus another 20 appearances off the bench. Let's put some respect on his name, Jules.
Yeah, and he was on the bench again for that game, replacing Antoine Griezmann after an hour and then scoring those the hat-trick. I mean, he's
garbage
so good.
Time hat-trick.
Yeah, garbage time, but still, as you said, Gabby, they all count. But he's just so good at scoring like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just amazing. What a striker. He still misses big chances regularly through the whole season. So I think it could be even better than this, really. But it has to be a starter next season. I think whether Julian Alvarez stays or not, that's another matter. But surely the Alvarez-Sorloth or somebody-Sorloth partnership up front has to be there next season.
I think. First, it's going to be a 3-man rotation rather than a 4-man rotation, obviously with Correa going. But I think Griezmann's minutes have to go down or he plays attacking midfield.
Yeah, exactly. Milan end their campaign with a 2-0 win over Monza. Joao Felix scores a gorgeous free kick and the Ultras are not happy. Gab, the winds of change are coming.
Yeah, this is the game that nobody wanted to play. I think everybody in Milan land wanted the season to be over and Monza already relegated, nothing to do. So what happens in these situations? Wow, Joao Felix hits over and says, yeah, look at me, hits the crossbar. Great freak. I don't want to be mean to him, but no, I kind of do. Remember, we had a quick hit once when Chelsea, when he was still at Chelsea played like a bunch of Muppets in the FA Cup or the League Cup or some other nonsense like that. And he scored 2 goals.
It
and it was
amazing,
tremendous skill. And you reminded me, yes, but who's he doing it again? What's the context? And you were right, Jules, because
he teases you and then disappears for 5 games and then comes back, do a nutmeg. And then...
So, Sergio Conceição not there because he's suspended, won't be back. Joao Felix, I don't think they're going to put him in a little box and send him back to Chelsea for Enzo Maresca to deal with.
This is their problem.
What I liked about this game, I'm not kidding, Pulisic and Tijani Ryan, I'm not saying they're the only two and you're watching on television, but they still mattered. They still cared.
Yeah.
Milan have such a good core of players. There's some big blackout zones in that team, but I'm sorry, I expect them to come straight back because when you have that, Magic Mike, Reinders, Pulisic, even you'll get something from Leao.
Of course, you've
got talent in this team.
Yeah.
So Iglitare should be official as director of football next week. Still not official.
Finally.
And then they'll get to work on the new coach, and obviously, inevitably, given the situation, we mentioned Antonio Conte before.
Yeah.
Conte's been linked to the Juve job. He's been linked to the Milan job. I think
Max Allegri as well, I think, been linked to a lot of clubs.
Oh, yeah, another guy's been unemployed for 3 years. Okay. And
you called it, Gabi. Sami Achoud is the new president of the Brazilian FA, and Carlo Ancelotti is the new boss and arrived in the night in the UK in Brazil.
Yeah, well, wearing
his cap,
big orange cap. I thought that was pretty
cool. Yellow.
Was it?
It was yellow for is the one that they wear, with
they gave it to. I didn't know it was a Brazil hat. No. So yeah. This is pretty strong. First of all, I don't know this guy Samir Shad from Adam, but what we do know is he's from one of the smallest federations in Brazil.
Yeah.
We also know that the Brazilian professional clubs, most of them opposed his appointment. And we know that his predecessor, Edinaldo Rodrigues, wasn't running again or vacated the position because, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here. He was accused of falsifying a signature.
Yeah.
And then chose not to appeal the accusation. Is that fair enough? Lawyers happy? Yeah. This is what he's walking into. There's so much potential in Brazil, but a lot of senior players, a lot of legendary Brazilian players have said, like, listen, we can't have this federation running one way and the clubs, if we want our clubs to be professional and so on, there's a lot to sort out.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't affect Carlo Ancelotti's job. And I hope that if Brazil are successful, we don't have all these people jumping on the bandwagon. Because if Brazil succeeds in football, right now, the way the setup is, it's because you have tremendous players and maybe a good coach who gets them over the line like Chichi was back in the day. It's not because your organization or your system is any good, because it's clearly not, because you've got people fighting all the time. Sporting may have lost Ruben Amorim in mid-season, but they still win the domestic double. What a comeback in the cup final against Benfica, Jules. And is Renato Sanchez the biggest bonehead in history?
I don't know, but this loan deal from PSG to Benfica for Renato Sanchez, remember how good he used to be?
No.
But when he was young, he was very good.
No, I was 5 years old when he was young.
But incredible. Yeah, I know. And a game where you thought Benfica had under control, took the lead. They obviously faced each other in this kind of league final. Remember, 2 games before the end of the season, where this time Sporting took the lead early and then Benfica came back, but it was not enough. They had to win. They didn't win. In this case, it was late for Sporting to win that double and go back-to-back league title. We said that before, but now to cap it off with a double, it's a pretty special season considering you lost your manager halfway through the season back in November, even before the halfway mark.
Benfica had so many chances to win, to add to their lead. They scored early in the second half, but they could have been a couple of goals up at halftime from what I could tell from the highlights I saw.
Yeah.
Sporting did very, very little. Renato Sanchez, there's no reason for you to give away that penalty. There's none whatsoever. It's on you.
Atalanta finished the season with a defeat to Parma 3-2, but Gab, let's celebrate their third place finish. It's easy to forget what an achievement this is.
Yeah, it's tremendous, and we get bored talking about it. Resources, people being born on third place and thinking they hit a triple. Like, it's not impressive when Real Madrid or Barcelona or Manchester City or Juventus or Inter win because you have massive budgets. You didn't even mention Paris Saint-Germain.
No, thank you.
It is impressive when Atalanta do, because this is a club it's a provincial club. Yes, they are from a wealthy city, but they're a club that historically have been mid to bottom of the table, and they have this tremendous leadership it's a wonderful combination of a local family, which the Percassi family, which have been there for a long time, together with U.S. private equity minds. Yeah. Together with they've had scouts and different directors of football from around Europe. They have the best academy in Serie A. Their signings, they don't always get them right, but many of them they do get right. They sell very well. Yeah. Hey, hello, Rasmus Højlund. And this is the upside. They are one of the gold standards clubs in how you should run. And for me, them finishing third, them winning we talked about last year when they won the Europa League, whatever else, Gasperini, chuck it all in there. That to me is as impressive as winning a title. And one of these years they may yet win a title. Union Saint-Gilloise are Belgian champions, Jules. Now, Belgium, as you know, have a different system. They have a playoff system.
They have, indeed.
At the end of the regular season, at the end of 30 games, everybody played everybody else for home and away. They were third. They were 13 points behind. And then when they go in the playoffs, where the top 6 all play each other twice, right?
That's it, yeah.
They destroyed everybody. 9 wins and 1
They were outstanding. Their first title in 1991 years, 9-1. Incredible. They used to be big, massive club at the start of the 20th century. Then not so big at all, really not good. And then the last few years they've been great. They do a lot of really good things with their scouting, their recruitment. They keep losing their best players season after season, and they kept rebuilding and still having success. And they finished, as you said, Gabi, in the playoff with 9 wins, 1 draw. This is the last year of the playoffs too. So from next season onwards in Belgium, there's no more playoffs. So it's just the league title at the end that decide the champions. So they would not have been champions. Club Brugge were probably the best team and the most consistent team until the playoffs. And in the playoffs, it was all about Union Saint-Gilloise. If you don't know where Union Saint-Gilloise is, it's just in the suburbs of Brussels, so in the banlieue of Brussels. But they've been a wonderful club, and they've had great fans too. So I'm really happy.
It's not even
for
suburbs. It's more almost like a posh neighborhood kind
of. Yeah.
To the south of the center. Shout out to Alex Musio, my boy, who runs the club.
Yeah.
I was thinking about these playoffs, right? I thought how do we feel about? I know they're abandoning them.
Like Scotland have them. There's a few other leagues that have them. Switzerland have them too.
Would you have liked to see this in the Premier League, say?
Yeah, I think it's quite cool.
Top 6 again.
Yeah, I think there's something cool about it. I understand the fairness, or not fairness, but should you be the champions if after 40 games or 38 or 34?
Genk may not have liked this.
Yeah, you should have been the title, maybe. But yeah, I think there's something about it. I like it. Gab, I know you're a big fan of IShowSpeed, so you must have been watching when that bald man interrupted his live stream.
That's right. It wasn't orchestrated at all. It's like, what? Gianni Infantino.
He's here. How did you get in? Did you have a pass?
He wanders in holding a ball. He says, this is the ball that's going to be used in the inaugural Club World Cup game. And,
wow.
And, Speed's all like, whoa, man. Like, he's like, but I need the ball back by June 14th. Otherwise we can't play. Yuck, yuck, yuck. He also raised brought up, obviously, Speed's favorite player is Cristiano Ronaldo. So he brought up the possibility of Cristiano Ronaldo going on loan and maybe playing in the Club World Cup. Like, Infantino's getting killed for this, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't do press conferences, he doesn't face the media. He's messing around a lot with influencers. At least he's not on Newsret, Salt Bay's Instagram anymore. He's speaking to what he thinks is the best way to grow his audience. I'm not 100% convinced it's true. I think there's a lot of people who I think have gone so far to overestimate the value and the importance of these influencer types and stuff like that. Because I really wonder how many of Speed's people are like, oh, look, Infantino showed up with Speed holding a ball. I know Speed's into football. I've seen him at football events before. It's not like I'm going to start watching the World Cup because he shows up with the ball. It's the way he does things. And I have a feeling we're going to see more Speed at the Club World Cup. And I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. Jules, this brings us to an end.
Yeah.
But we got to come back on Thursday. You're already going to be on site in Munich. I will be joined by Stuart Robson, and we will do our traditional pre-Champions League final tactical preview, and maybe also reflect on the Conference League final, which everybody's waiting for with bated breath. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.